Welcome to another episode of Boys on the Bench podcast. We are your host. I am Dalton Riley, and as always, alongside me is my lifelong friend, Nathan Eastwood. Tonight, DJ will not be joining us as he did not invite me and Nathan, but he and his wife are going to be doing some wicked cool shit this week in Thailand. So kudos to you guys. But no, Nathan and I had no problem finding another fantasy football guru that goes by the name of Kenneth Mosley. Thank you for taking a seat on the bench with us to share your expert analysis. So for those of you tuning into our channel, this is currently episode 11. In the previous episodes, we have provided you with the booms and the busts at the quarterback and running back positions. If you were wondering who might be trending up, or if you were on the fence of deciding whether or not you should keep, cut, or trade your quarterback or running back, then I highly suggest you check out those episodes. This is the largest position group tonight that we'll be talking about in the wide receivers, so I'm excited to share what our ADP has for you guys.
Before we jump into our ADP, after watching the first two games of the finals, who do y'all think is going to take it?
Oh, Denver.
Yeah, Denver's looking strong, man.
I love the Jimmy Butler story, but Denver's
Jokic is unstoppable. I watched the rest of that second game. What was it, Sunday night?
Yeah.
They can't stop that man, dude. He's unstoppable.
Yeah, I just think that he's pretty much taken that team all the way to the finals by himself, single-handedly. I think he's doing a very fine job right now. So, I think this is his year. So, reminds me a lot of the Antetokounmpo. So, I think that
Giannis.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I think that just like he did with the Bucks, I think he's doing the same very thing there with Denver. So I kind of hope he gets a ring for himself and for them. So I think he deserves it.
Oh yeah.
But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and let's jump on this. So, guys, based on our ADP, our average draft position, we currently have a tie at number 5. We have A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill. So with A.J. Brown, he's the most dominant and probably the most physical player in the NFL. I mean, he's 6'4", 226 pounds. When the man catches the football, it's like a running back running down the field, running all these slants and then go routes and who knows what else. And then not only that, with the ball in his hands, he's absolutely just wrecking havoc for defenses. So I think that this was super easy for us, and only having him at number 5, it's like, wow, like who could else be above this man? And not only that, but guys, they're able to retain a lot of their team. They kept a lot of their offensive line. They saved up a lot of the other skill positions around him, Devontae Smith, and they've got Goddard still. Like guys, holy cow. And let's not forget Jalen Hurts. So I don't think he's going to have any issues streaking down the field again this year, being the type of receiver he's been in the past. I think he'll very well do that again, especially with the fact that he's only 25. And guys, he's very well in the prime of his years. So super stoked, super excited about it.
Yeah, no, I agree, Dalton. You're right. A.J. Brown is, you could probably arguably put him in the top 3. He is Jalen Hurts' guy. They had a connection first day of him going into the facility last year. They had a connection. They became really good friends, and I believe that that's going to carry over into next year, even with the weapons that they did have with Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. He was still able to get his touches and a lot of yards and his red zone look. So I really expect him to do good here. And yeah, he has the potential to be a top 3. And then with Jalen Hurts getting his big contract, so it looks good here. I like it.
Yeah, I think he's a great fit with Jalen Hurts. Back to what you were saying, they became real good friends back in college when they would meet up during the off season. But so coming into Philly, he already had that connection with Jalen Hurts. As you saw, they had that phone interview or phone call prior to that draft day trade. But he's a real good fit. Obviously, I'm a little biased being an Eagles fan, but A.J. Brown, he's a definitely top 3, top 5 for sure. Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to go back to what you were just saying with the relationship that they have, I think that plays a big part in their quarterback and their wide receiver. And
Oh, yeah.
speaking with that, another quarterback receiver, that we think has good chemistry, like we were just mentioning that we had tied at number 5 was Tyreek Hill. I mean, this dude was coming, from Kansas City, and a lot of us were thinking, man, is this guy still going to be able to be the same Tyreek Hill? A lot of people thought that Tyreek Hill was only Tyreek Hill because of Patrick Mahomes. The guy had a deep arm. Could throw it all across the field, and you got Tyreek Hill who can run all over the field. And so it's like wherever he ran, Patrick Mahomes' arm met him, So it's like he's only Tyreek Hill because of Patty Mahomes. Well, I think Tyreek Hill proved him wrong, So now he goes into another super accurate quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, but not quite the rocket arm that Patrick Mahomes had. But Tyreek Hill still showed that he can be highly successful in the NFL on another team with a quarterback that is not as talented as Patrick Mahomes. And so he showed top 10 wide receiver fantasy production last year. And I think he very well easily will do that in the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, You got the wheels on. He got the wheels on. So, I mean, being that fast, all you got to do is chunk the ball down the field, and he's there. I mean, he can track down any ball you put downfield, 50-plus yards. Yeah, it's not hard to make him look good. He's going to make you look good.
Yeah, no, Tyreek Hill, he's a different animal, and like when he first came to Miami, they did that interview with him, and he was kind of like, "What's it like, catching the ball from Tua and all this?" And he was like, "It's like going from a brand new Corvette to a used 2001 Volkswagen." So I don't know. Like you said, he's proved last year with Tua that he can be a top 10, and there's games where Tua didn't play and he still had really good weeks, and that's just because of the ability that Tyreek Hill has. He's just a game-changing wide receiver with his speed and how quick he can get off the ball and down the field and how fast he can run those slant routes. So yeah, it's a pretty good tie there at 5.
Yeah,
I
dude,
agree with that.
Think about how fast this team is too, though. What's
Jalen
amazing
Waddle's is just as fast.
Oh, yeah, I mean, dude, I was looking at the Madden ratings for the Madden 23 or whatever. They got Tyreek at 99 and Jalen Waddle at 97. Like, dude, holy cow! Name a faster duo. Yeah, but look at their running backs. Like, I want to say they've got Mostert and Achani or Chaney. They've got those guys, and those guys can keep up with Tyreek. That's crazy. The Dolphins are the fastest team in the NFL, so that's going to be a fun bunch to watch. So,
yeah, we'll be looking forward to that. But moving on, at number 4, we have Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs is the guy in Buffalo. He's the guy. He's the wide receiver. He's the red zone threat. He's the every down threat. Anytime Josh Allen drops back to pass, he's probably thinking he's going to throw to Stephon Diggs, and he's good. He was good at Minnesota, and then he got traded to Buffalo, or did he sign? I don't know. I don't know if he got traded or signed. I can't remember.
Yeah, I want to say he got traded.
Yeah, I think he got traded. But wow, he's gone in the right direction. So he's going to get his touches. It's a pass happy offense. He's going to get his yards. I can easily see getting him 10, maybe 11 targets a game with how much they throw the football. So with the PPR league, that's a pretty good pickup there in Stephon Diggs. So I like it just because it's a pass-happy offense, and they really, really love to throw the football because, you have Josh Allen, who's one of the better throwing quarterbacks in the NFL. So I like it here at 4. It's a great just because they're pass-happy offense, and it's a good pickup wherever you're at. If you're at the bottom half or if it comes back to you at if you're running a snake and you can go, run it back, then turn around and get Stephon Diggs, that's a pretty good pickup.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think Stephon Diggs is going to be a highly touted receiver for the Bills again this year, easily. I think that he's going to be Josh Allen's favorite target, especially considering the fact that they've been talking about with rumors going around that Josh Allen's not going to be, they're hoping for him to be less physical, especially as a quarterback that they're wanting to keep around the franchise a little bit longer. So I can see him throwing the ball more, and I think that's going to definitely aid in the favor of Stephon Diggs. And also, I was also looking it up just to make sure, but yes, he was traded to the Bills, and the Vikings got the first round 20. The 22nd pick overall from it. And with that 22nd overall pick, they got their boy Justin Jefferson. So I think it worked for both clubs fairly well in that trade.
What a great trade for both teams. But Stephon, I mean, you said he gets, 10, 11 targets a game?
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's what he's going to average about just because of being pass happy, yeah.
Yeah. I see about 8 to 10 a game, especially with the addition of Dalton Kincaid. And you still got Gabe Davis on the team, and then who was it, Khalil Shakir or something like that, who kind of showed a little bit of breakout last year. But it is a pass-happy team. Josh Allen's dropping back 50 times a game. So, I mean, yeah, you're gonna see him get his targets and touches and all that. So, definitely a great fit there for him in Buffalo. All right, so moving on to number 3, we have Cooper Kupp. Looking at him, yeah, he had a kind of not so much of a down year, but an injured year last year. But ever since Matthew Stafford's come into the Rams stadium, I mean, they've been the 1-2 punch. I mean, you can arguably say he's been the number 1 receiver since Matthew Stafford's come in. The last 2 years, he's averaged almost 15 points a game, fantasy-wise, minus 1 game per season. So, I mean, you know what you're getting if you draft him. I mean, you can make the case that he's the number 1. You can make the case, between him and Justin Jefferson, I believe.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like you said, he was injured some last year, or most of the year really, but when he is healthy and is playing, he is the guy, and they don't really have anybody else I think they still got Van Jefferson, but he's more of a deep threat. But it's kind of like the way that Stafford and Cooper Kupp play, it's kind of like ideal to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, right? So, if he's just old reliable. That's what Cooper Kupp is, just old reliable for Matthew Stafford. He's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of catches. He's going to get a lot of targets. He's going to be targeted in the red zone. So, and he's got something to prove coming off an injury. So look for him to have a pretty big year again this year. And it's a great number 3 pick. So I like it, and I like it because they also don't have anybody else to throw the football to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you guys had mentioned before, I think he's definitely the safer pick for the Rams. There's not much talent outside of Cooper Kupp, and I think that he's just a safe check down option for Matthew Stafford. Outside of Van Jefferson, I think you got like the Ben Skoranek. So I don't see there being much usage other than maybe Tyler Higbee at the tight end position getting some targets. So I think that Cooper Kupp at 29 years old, I think he's still in his prime. I think he's still got some in the tank. I think he'll do just fine, and that's why we have him at our number 3. And I'm pretty excited about it. But yeah, there are some injury concerns. He got hurt week 10, I think, versus the Cardinals. He had like some type of ankle sprain, which put him out. It was pretty serious, put him out for the rest of the year. And so, now that he's had, all the rest of the year and all the offseason to heal, I think he'll be just fine coming right back and getting back to his old form. So at our current number 2 ADP, we have Jamar Chase. Guys, Jamar Chase, love this guy. He's an absolute dog. He's a home run hitter for Cincinnati. I mean, this dude's going to put up big numbers. I think there was how many times he's put up over 20 fantasy points. I think he's single-handedly won fantasy managers their week in fantasy. So he's able to put up those big points. And not only that, he also has competition for targets, but it doesn't seem like that's really affected him any. He's that good. And I think he's going to be just as good again because he has such good chemistry with Joey Burrow. So, I mean, that comes straight out of LSU, and they've translated very well to the NFL. So, and guys, let's not forget, too, that how good he is. I mean, there's only one guy ahead of him that we have on our ADP, and I'm sure we're all aware, and our viewers are all aware who that is. But he broke this guy's rookie receiving record, guys. So I think that he can compete with the best of them. I think he can be the number one receiver in the NFL this year. It would not surprise me. So I'm excited about it. I think he'll do just fine, and I think he's a safe pick. If you're, later in the first round, mid first round, if you're needing a number one receiver for your team, this is definitely who I go for.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of mouths to feed there in Cincinnati, but Jamar Chase, he's your big home run hitter. You got T. Higgins over the middle, but Jamar Chase, he's getting 13, 14 targets a game. So I mean, he's easily getting 10 receptions a game, on top of the yards, on top of the touchdowns he's getting. He gets 10, has about 10, 12 touchdowns a year so far. So I mean, he's scoring on all ends of the field for you. So he's definitely your home run hitter. Kind of go number 2.
I agree, and I agree with both of y'all. I'm going to agree with Dalton too. I think that we could see Jamar Chase being the number one wide receiver in the NFL this year. I really do. Coming into the league, they were worried about, his hands are too small to catch NFL football, or
I forgot about that.
This or that, and he's kind of basically said, "Fuck you guys." So it goes back to having that chemistry with Joe Burrow at LSU and what they did there in Joe Burrow's senior year. But I think DJ mentioned it in the past episodes that he was a top 11 wide receiver in the NFL last year with missing 4 games. With missing 4 games. So if you get a full year out of him, expect this man to be just as productive as Justin Jefferson, and he could potentially be, and probably could be, and will be the number one wide receiver in the NFL if he's healthy and they continue to play like they play. It's also will probably be a pass happy offense because they just got rid of Joe Mixon, correct?
No, Joe Mixon's still there. They're hoping to hold on to him a little longer, but he could be out of town very soon, though.
I thought he was leaving.
Yeah, it's out there, but
about him leaving. But
it definitely was. But yeah, I think they're going to hold on to him.
Even still, Joe Burrow can throw the football well down the field. He's very accurate. He's done a very good job of transitioning into the NFL, and then they bring in the guy that he had the best connection with in college, and Jamar Chase. So I expect Jamar Chase to have a fantastic year this year, and I'm with agreement on Dalton that he potentially will be the best wide receiver in the NFL this year.
Right, Nathan. I absolutely agree with you, too. I think if it wasn't for that injury, like you said, I think he definitely would have taken a step forward this year. But I think it was right before the injury, he scored 33 fantasy points, and then he scored 32 or vice versa. He scored double week, and 2 weeks in a row, he scored over 30 points fantasy PPR. And then after that, after he came back post-injury, he was still able to finish as the number 12 fantasy wide receiver. So I think that if it wasn't for the injury, I think he would have definitely very easily been a top 5 fantasy receiver. And I think if, bearing any setbacks or any injuries this year, I think that he'll definitely take a huge leap forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we all agree with that. But moving on to what y'all been wanting to hear. Number 1 on the ADP list, of course, it is Justin Jefferson.
Yeah,
we
buddy.
just talked about how the Vikings ended up with Justin Jefferson with the trade with Buffalo. He is the guy in Minnesota. And he's going to be extremely well, going to have another great year. I could see his targets going down just a little bit because they drafted a wide receiver in the first round, but not enough to not take him as the first wide receiver off the board in the fantasy draft. I think it's going to play out in a favor to where it helps both of those guys. And it's Jordan Addison. Yeah, Jordan Addison. So that's who the Vikings got in the first round this year. It's going to work out in both of their favors. It could really help Justin Jefferson and really help Jordan Addison. So it's going to be a great year for Minnesota, and it brings in another weapon there for Kirk Cousins. And so that way you kind of can keep defenses honest now. You don't have to just stack the box here on Justin Jefferson. Now you got Jordan Addison, and they just got TJ Hawkinson from the Lions towards the end of the year last year. So even with the addition of T.J. Hawkinson, Justin Jefferson was still the guy there. It's obviously who Kirk Cousins throw the balls to when he's in dire need. Just throw it up. Justin's down there somewhere. So going to get a lot of touches, a lot of receptions like he always does and has in the NFL. So just if you can take Justin Jefferson first off the board, take him. You won't regret it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Justin Jefferson, there's not much to say that he doesn't do well. Comes off the break well, great route runner, knows how to get you down the field, knows how to get you over the middle of the field. He does it all. So, I want to say, I looked at it earlier, he's getting 12 to 15 targets a game, averaging 11 receptions a game. So, that's 11 points right there on top of the yards and on top of the touchdowns. So, there's a few mouths to feed there, but I don't think, like you were saying, I don't think that's going to take much off his workload at all. He's still the guy. He's still going to be the number one guy, and going forward, moving on, he's going to be their guy.
Yeah, with Justin Jefferson, I think he's arguably probably, the best wide receiver in the NFL. I think that it could be a gamble between him and Jamar Chase. But with Justin Jefferson, I think that he is going to be the bona fide, star-studded receiver there. I think also in the draft, post-draft, a lot of people were questioning whether Jordan Addison being drafted was actually going to help his stock or hurt it. I think I'm totally bullish on it. I think it's going to be fantastic for his stock in fantasy. I think that it's going to bring some of the attention from these really good defensive backs in the NFL and try to cause some mismatches. And I think that's going to help out Justin Jefferson in the long run. But further ado, guys, we are now finished with our booms for our wide receivers. And now we're going to get into something known as our honorable mentions. Now, guys, what that is, if you're just tuning into our channel, the honorable mentions is our highest rated player that did not make it in the top 5 of our ADP for each of us. So we're going to go ahead and go around and talk about who we think could possibly be a top receiver in the NFL for fantasy PPR. So, Kenneth, if you want to go ahead and take it away and share who you have on the table.
Yeah, so for my honorable mention, I have Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Detroit Lions. He's been having a breakout year the last 2 years, getting better and better. I think he's just on the rise this year. He's getting targets, he's getting receptions. My only concern with him is going to be his red zone play. He doesn't get a lot of targets in the red zone, so his touchdowns are a little on the low side. But other than that, he's getting his yards, he's getting his receptions. And I don't know about y'all, but I think the Lions are about to take off this year, and they're going to have some fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like that actually of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't think he gets as much attention as he deserves. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the reason I like that too is because Jameson Williams actually got in trouble, with the gambling policy of the NFL. So he's going to be out for possibly, the first 6 weeks of the NFL season. So this could be another chance for all of you that own Amon-Ra St. Brown in your fantasy teams. You guys may have got a huge break in this. So I think that is a very good honorable mention for what we have. So for me,
real quick, I wanted just to throw in on the St. Brown thing. Yes, St. Brown is the guy in Detroit, and then when Jameson Williams comes back, they're going to be even better. His red zone targets were down, but that's because of Jamal Williams last year. He led the all NFL in rushing touchdowns, and he was their guy to use in the red zone. He's now gone. They do have Jahmyr Gibbs, but look for that to kind of go up this year for St. Brown. I'm agreeing with Kenneth when they're going to be a good football team this year. The Lions are, and then when Jameson Williams comes back, they're going to be even better. So that's going to be a really good football team to keep your eye on and watch this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, like I said, that's a great pick. So for me, I currently have Garrett Wilson with the New York Jets. Guys, I'm so stoked on this guy. I currently have him on my fantasy team, and I am not letting him go for the foreseeable future. Guys, this guy is a rookie. He won the offensive rookie MVP in the NFL last year. And he, not only that, but as a rookie, he topped 1,100 yards with sub quarterback play with Zach Wilson. Now he's got a nice upgrade, with Aaron Rodgers. So he's gone from the Prius to the Jaguar. So he's looking pretty good right now. And so I'm freaking stoked. And he lost Elijah Moore. So the targets, are still, going to need to be shared a little bit. Aaron Rodgers is good at throwing and sharing the ball around, but he's also been capable of having a wide receiver one on the team. And so I think that could very well be Garrett Wilson. And like I said, they got rid of Elijah Moore. He went to the Browns, but in return, Rodgers was able to get his guy, and Alan Lazard. So there is still going to be some target share, but not too concerned. I think Garrett Wilson is by far the better wide receiver on that team. And so I think that this will be a huge, massive leap for the second-year wide receiver there with the Jets.
Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna have to agree with you, Dalton. I think, boy, getting Aaron Rodgers, that Jets team is gonna be scary. They had a dang good defense last year.
Yeah, they're contenders now.
They lacked quarterback play, and now they have Aaron Rodgers and a solid running back in Breece Hall. Then they have Garrett Wilson. Yes, they got rid of Elijah Moore, but they also just brought in Randall Cobb. They also brought in Alan Lazard.
Him too.
And a lot of people were like, oh, Garrett Wilson's still going to be number 2 because they brought in Lazard. Well, Lazard was supposed to be number 1 last year with Devontae Adams leaving to go to Vegas. And you saw how quickly that changed, and Rodgers' favorite target was Christian Watson. So really look for Garrett Wilson to have, I can't say a breakout year because he had a fantastic year last year, but a even better year this year with Aaron Rodgers. And I've seen some stuff and read up on some stuff that Garrett Wilson has been just in his back pocket learning and saying like, hey, what can I do to be better for you? Like, I want to be your go-to guy. I want to be able to guy that you can count on and trust. So really look for Garrett Wilson to kind of turn into like a Devontae Adams for Aaron Rodgers. So I like the pick. It's going to be – they're going to have a fun – we talked about the Lions having a fun year. It's going to be a fun year watching the Jets too. Yeah,
I think it's very well in the realm of possibility of him being a number 1 receiver and being there, like a Devontae Adams. So I think that's a really high ceiling, but I think it's a very possible, outcome. So
yeah. Well, with moving on, my honorable mention could have arguably been in the top 5 is Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is used everywhere in everything with the 49ers offense. He's going to run the football. He's going to catch the football. He's going to go down the field on boot plays and screen passes. And he's just a weapon. They use him all the time. He's just a playmaker, and he's going to get you touchdowns. Now there may be some weeks where he doesn't get you a lot of catches and stuff like that, but he will get his points. He will get catches. He will get touchdowns just because he is a playmaker and a difference maker on that 49ers team.
All right. Yeah. So I totally agree, Nathan. So if you've made it this far in the episode, we are now going to get into the bus of our wide receivers. And so this is also based on our ADP of who we have at our currently top 5 bus. And at number 5, we're going to go ahead and let Kenneth take that one away. Who do you got?
Yeah, so at number 5, we have Alan Lazard. So kind of going back to what you were talking about in your honorable mention, Dalton, the Garrett Wilson and that. I don't completely agree with the whole Alan Lazard being a top 5 bust. I think he's going to be kind of the middle of the pack, kind of towards the end type of receiver, kind of going back towards the last year. I think he'll be Aaron Rodgers' number 1 guy for the first few weeks until Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson kind of get that connection going, and it's going to be like that Christian Watson type deal where towards the middle to the end of the year, that's going to be Aaron Rodgers' go-to guy, and then that's when Alan Lazard will start falling off the bridge. But I think for the first few weeks, Alan Lazard will be the kind of number 1 guy. He'll still get his catches and kind of get some yards in there. I think he'll be about a 10-point a game type of player. But other than that, I don't really see it being too much higher than that. But I don't agree with the whole top 5 aspect of it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I think he'll give you off like he did this year, a good first couple of weeks. But he was supposed to, like I said, he was supposed to be the guy in Green Bay, and then Christian Watson stepped up and kind of took over that role. And I fully expect Garrett Wilson to do the same. And especially with Garrett Wilson having a great rookie year last year, there's potential that Alan Lazard might not even be the number one guy for Aaron Rodgers. So they brought in Randall Cobb because they can trust him. So I think he's a good pickup if you're running like a DraftKings thing, but it's going to be a hit or miss with Alan Lazard. I think you'll have good weeks, but I think you'll have very down weeks as well. But yeah, I would say he's a bust just because I think the inconsistency there is what's going to be the issue with Alan Lazard, only because Dalton mentioned that Rodgers likes to disperse the ball out, and Garrett Wilson will be the top guy there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good point. There, Kenneth. I think that, there's a very good chance that he could be the number one receiver there for the Jets, given, maybe a couple of weeks, just for Aaron Rodgers to get, into the groove of things. But, I think that Garrett Wilson is arguably the best receiver on that team right now. And I think that once he gets that chemistry with Garrett Wilson, I think that that's when Alan Lazard will be a bust. But overall, I think he's still good to have on your team because he can give you good flex appeal. He's someone who can come in and help you out during bye weeks and things like that. The good thing is with Randall Cobb and Alan Lazard, I think that they do come in with that chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers did want them on the team. And so there is some upside there, but overall, I think that this is Garrett Wilson's wide receiving. I think he's going to lead this room for the wide receivers. And so I think that's just why we had Alan Lazard there at 5. But for our number 4 ADP bust, we have Sky Moore with the Kansas City Chiefs. So, guys, I currently have Sky Moore here because he just did not have a productive rookie season last year. I know a lot of people still have high hopes in him. I think he's a very talented wide receiver, but he only appeared in less than 30% of the offensive snaps last year. I believe he just saw 22 receptions on 33 targets last year, and of those, he was able to garner 250 yards receiving. So, just wasn't a very highly productive season for him last year. He did lose Juju Smith-Schuster to the Patriots and McCole Hardman. So some targets may have opened up for him, but there still are some studs there in Rashee Rice, who they just drafted out of SMU, and they also have Justin Ross, who got injured last year, but is also a big frame-bodied receiver who they have talked highly of this offseason. So I still, even though they've lost some targets, I still think that there are some there that are very good. That it's still going to be very hard for him to kind of get in there and have a role in this offense. I still think he'll have a special teams role, but I just don't think he's as hype as most people have him. I just don't see it. Also, something that was also very scary that I had noticed was in week 9 versus the Titans last year, Patrick Mahomes threw the ball almost 70 times, completed over 40 of those passes, and only threw one pass to Sky Moore. 70 attempts and only threw one to Sky. So if you throw it 70 times and he's not even, targeted in that game, I think there was only 2 games last year that he was targeted more than 4 times. So yeah, he didn't have a productive rookie season. I just don't see him really even taking a step forward this year. I think he takes another step back. And so that's why I just can't get on this train with Sky Moore.
So, I see him kind of taking a small step forward. I mean, towards the end of the year, he started getting a little bit more production once McCole Hardman was kind of out of the lineup on IR, and, Juju was being Juju. But, no, I see him getting a little bit more production, but, I mean, like what you were saying, I mean, they got Travis Kelce on that team. I mean, what else more do you need? I mean, throw the ball 40 times to him, he's going to catch it 40 times. So, I mean, when you got that on your team, you're not looking too much for your wide receivers. I mean, their last big wide receiver was Tyreek Hill. Coming out of that, they had Juju last year, McCole Hardman thinking they might do something. They didn't do much of anything last year either. So, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he's looking for his tight ends. He's looking for Travis Kelce, and they kind of dump it down to the receiver or the running backs, my bad. But I see Sky Moore kind of taking a small step forward this year, being kind of more of that into that starting role that he wasn't in last year. But as far as starting wise in fantasy, I don't see it. Maybe a few weeks here and there, off kind of coming in for a flex position. I could see him having a decent week here and there.
Yeah, I mean, with that, last year he played at 3 different positions. I think they were saying the offensive coordinator, or it might have been Andy Reid that said it. Last year he played 3 different wide receiver positions. He played X, Y, Z, and zebra, or something like that. Like he played everywhere in the field at all the positions, so he had a taste of everything. But for me, even a step forward would be just having a presence on the field more than 50% of the time. Not even being on the field for 30% of the time was kind of wary for me, but he is a rookie. But, in rookies, for me to see them being very productive their next year, I kind of needed a little more their first year. But, we'll see. We'll see. So, I don't think there's no way he'll be
breakout years or second year. So, hopefully he has that breakout year. But they also lost Eric Bieniemy, however you say it, their offense coordinator. So, hopefully whoever they bring in kind of opens the field up more for him. But we'll see.
Well, and that's what I'm saying too. Yeah, and with the new offense coordinator, and I just don't see him being a number 1 receiver anyway for that team when they've got Travis Kelce too. So I feel like his ceiling's already
Giants.
So his ceiling's already capped with all of that. So I'm just not just not with it. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dalton. I think he maybe use him as like a slot receiver here and then, but I expect Kadarius Toney's targets to go up. They just drafted Rashee Rice. He's a big-bodied receiver, so
yeah, I was thinking about him. Yeah, that's good.
And like Kenneth said, they got Travis Kelce. So I mean, with Kadarius Toney, Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, Sky Moore, Patrick Mahomes don't need a fantastic wide receiver. He can do fine without because he's Patrick Mahomes. But I just with Kadarius Toney there and Rashee Rice and all that, I just don't see Sky Moore making going in the right direction. So I'm just going to agree here at Bus.
Yeah, he might need another injury. An injury might have to happen in order for him to really take that step forward that Kenneth is maybe talking about. So.
Yeah. But with that, moving forward at number 3 for our bust, Chase Claypool. I have Chase Claypool and
ass.
He's Kenneth summed it up. He's ass. That's all you need to know. He did okay. He did pretty good his rookie year in Pittsburgh, and then got traded to the Bears, and they were really looking forward to having him there. And when he got there and learned the offense, he really was not productive for the Bears at all. So, and they traded with Carolina. They brought in DJ Moore, and they're saying that DJ Moore and Justin Fields are having a pretty good connection, and they're expecting DJ Moore to have a pretty good year. So I don't see the production for Chase Claypool. They were one of the leading rushing offenses in the NFL with Justin Fields and their running backs. So I fully expect them to kind of continue the same, and DJ Moore to be the guy there. So I don't see Claypool doing much of anything.
Yeah, I mean, I was skeptical with DJ Moore. I have him on my team, and I've considered trading him. But with all the things coming out of training camp and OTAs, they're very highly touted on him this year so far, and saying that he's doing an amazing job and he's just burning past the secondary. And I'm like, I'm going to hold on to him. So for right now anyway, but with Chase Claypool, I just think that brings his stock down. I think that he is going to be their wide receiver 2 there, maybe, but he is 24 years old. He's still a very young receiver, but like Nathan said, I think his ceiling was kind of left behind in Pittsburgh, and I just don't see him kind of throwing up those numbers, as he did there. So as he's going to do here, with the Bears. But we'll see. Then again, this is also a run first type of team, and I feel like all the throws that are going to be made, all the passes, I think they're going to be looked first towards DJ Moore. And so that's why I'm quite bearish on Chase Claypool.
Yeah. So with Chase Claypool, I mean, they're obviously a run team, run first team. And when they are dropping back to pass, like you said, DJ Moore's going to be his first look, and then you got Cole Kmet on that team. So, I mean, there's your 1-2 punches right there for the receiving core. I mean, they're not going to pass the ball 50, 60 times a game. They're a running team. No. They're going to pass the ball 20, maybe 30 times if they're down. So, I mean, you're looking at DJ Moore and Cole Kmet there being your really only receiving options. Darnell Mooney might have a few games here and there, but Chase Claypool was traded mid-season, was supposed to be the number one guy there and didn't do jack anything for them after that trade. So, I mean, I don't see anything going good for this guy going into this year. So, but with that, going into number 2, we got Juju Smith-Schuster. Now with Juju, he was also one of those receivers that had his ceiling in Pittsburgh.
Baby back.
Yes.
Dude's young, dude.
He came in last year supposed to be the number 2 guy, right, with McCole Hardin kind of taking that number 1 role. And he had a few good games. I mean, he played that inconsistent role very, very well. But after McCole Hardman went down in week 11, he was on my fantasy team, so I was really looking for him to kind of, break out and get some more points going on. He kind of just took more of a back step and just sat down, didn't do much of anything once McCall Hardman went down. So Juju, that's why he's up here at number 2. I put him at number 1, and he's a role player. He's not a number 1. So
yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. Part of it too is that he's in New England, and Mac Jones is terrible. He's terrible. Mac Jones is terrible. And look at the year Juju had with Patrick Mahomes. Do you think it's going to get better with Mac Jones? God, you want to talk about ass. That dude's ass.
Yeah.
But I don't see his ceiling was in Pittsburgh. I don't see him doing any better than what he did his first year or 2 in Pittsburgh. People really thought that he'd have a really good year last year being with Patrick Mahomes in the Kansas City offense, and he just kind of stayed consistent with being a hit or miss. And I think with Mac Jones at quarterback in New England, it's just going to get worse. So I don't like Juju Smith-Schuster. I wouldn't draft Juju Smith-Schuster given the quarterback play, and I just think he's mediocre, and I think he's already has had his best year in the NFL.
Yeah, I think, ever since he left the Steelers, I think this is, very similar to who we just talked about with Chase Claypool. Juju was doing very well there, and it still throws me off that this man was 19 years old with the Steelers and didn't even have his driver's license. Guys, the dude, what was he, walking, running a bike? Like, he probably, Ubered. I don't know, but it's just crazy to think now he's 26 years old and now he's with the Patriots and under Mac Jones. I just think that, we have him here at number 2 as our bust because, I think that his gameplay is going to be highly dependent on Mac Jones and on how well he plays this year. I think that Juju is very well capable in the realm of being the number 1 receiver there, but I just don't see Mac Jones really performing. I think what we saw last year and what's going on with Mac Jones, what we're hearing, with the head coach there with Belichick, I just don't think that there's very good chemistry there. I think, honestly, I have this weird feeling that Mac Jones' time in New England is running out. But with that said, I think that, Juju is, kind of a hit or miss, and it's going to all fall upon his quarterback. And like Nathan said, with Patty Mahomes not being able to produce with one of the most elite quarterbacks, I just don't see that happening with Mac Jones. So, but anyways, guys, we are now down to our number 1 ADP, our biggest bust for wide receivers that we have for the upcoming 2023 season, and that is Rashad Bateman with the Baltimore Ravens. Guys, I am not feeling good about this one at all. They just signed free agent Odell Beckham Jr. and they just drafted Zay Flowers. Yeah, he kind of reminds me a lot of Steve Smith Sr. I think this dude is he's fairly small in stature, but the dude plays a lot bigger than he is. I think that, this coming in for Rashad Bateman with his injuries, he in his rookie season in 2021, he missed 5 games due to an abdomen injury. And then last year he missed almost the entire season with a Lisfranc injury. So in his foot. So I just think that his injuries are kind of hindering and keeping him off the field. But I think Baltimore still has a lot of hope and potential in him. I think that they're still expecting him to play a big part in this offense. But with the draft pick with Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham Jr., I think that these are some very talented wide receivers, and that's going to that's going to take a huge hit into his fantasy production. And so I think arguably, like for me, it's the injuries. I don't like drafting people that have injuries, especially 2 in a row that are 2 different injuries, for consecutive seasons. So that, and also with the target shares, and also given the fact that, yes, they are going to a Todd Monken, offense as the offensive coordinator. He is going to be a higher passing offense, but then again, I just don't see, I think there's too many mouths to feed. And I think that Lamar Jackson is still a very heavily mobile quarterback. So that's why I think Rashad Bateman, I would just stay away.
Well, I mean, I agree. It's going to be a very pass-heavy offense, and then with J.K. Dobbins, he's going to run the football extremely well if he can stay healthy, and then you got Lamar Jackson who will run the football well. But you got to admit, that team can be pretty good at the wide receiver room. If Rashad Bateman can stay healthy and put together a productive year, he could be a top 11, top 12 wide receiver in the NFL. But like Dalton said, injuries is the key here. He hasn't played a full season. He can't stay healthy. When he is healthy, he's highly productive and getting you a lot of points, but needs to stay healthy. And they've already said that Zay Flowers and Lamar Jackson have built a dang good chemistry, and that Lamar likes throwing him the football. But it is going to be dispersed, the football is, because you have OBJ, you have Zay Flowers, you have Rashad Bateman, you have Mark Andrews, and you also have –
not forget about him, yeah.
Yeah, and J.K. Dobbins. So it can be a very, very, very talented offense if Bateman can stay healthy. And they got Devin Duvernay. So, I mean, look out. I mean, if they can all stay healthy, it can be a pretty good offense and a scary-looking offense. So, but, yeah, I'm with you, Dalton. Injuries is the reason why Bateman's on this list. If he's not injured and he's played his first 2 years, we wouldn't even be talking about him right now. But like Dalton said, injuries are key here. And that's a big, big, big part of fantasy football is injuries.
Yeah, so coming in his rookie year, he had all this hype coming around him, going to be the number 2 guy to Marquise Brown. Then they shipped him off to Arizona, and he's supposed to take that number 1 role. So being that number 1 role caused him, a lot of injuries, not having much other hope around him. So I think this year he could actually possibly play a full season, being the number 2, number 3 guy behind Zay Flowers and Odell. Then you got Mark Andrews and running the ball. So I think he could possibly have his year this year. But I'm like y'all, the injuries the past 2 years, I mean, you can't sustain that. So that's the red flag right there for me. And that's what makes him our number 1 bust.
Yeah, guys, I mean, we can all pretty much agree that this is a very talented receiver that we have our number 1. It's unfortunate that we have him this high, coming into the 2023 season. But guys, if you're listening to this, if you're a fantasy guy and, like Nathan said, injuries play a big part of fantasy, but you know what else? Risk. If you're willing to take that risk and get a receiver that, late, I think you could get him later in the draft, but he could potentially be your number 2. I don't really see him being your number 1 receiver on your team, but he could be a very solid wide receiver 2 for your fantasy team. And if you get him late, you could definitely get a steal in this year's draft if he ends up holding in there and he's able to get that target share from Lamar Jackson.
Definitely possibly be a fantasy league winner right there for you if he can stay healthy.
Yep. So, guys, that pretty much sums it up right there for our top 5 busts. And so now we're going to go ahead and get into our dishonorable mentions. So, guys, these are the lowest rated players that were not in our bottom 5 of the bust, but they are someone who we each thought that they could be in that bottom 5. So we're going to go ahead and Kenneth, take it away.
Yeah, so for my dishonorable mention, I have Traylon Burks. I mean, it's nothing against the guy. He ain't got no quarterback to throw him the damn ball. I mean, he has so much hype going in around him last year. Ryan Tannehill couldn't feed him the ball. So, I mean, I see the same story playing out this year. No quarterback. Until they get a quarterback, I see him staying on the bottom tier of wide receivers for a while until they can get that quarterback in, start passing him the ball, get that offense rolling.
Yeah, no, I agree. And them wasting a first round pick on Traylon Burks, I agree with. Traylon Burks is a first round wide receiver. He's a dang good wide receiver. He is a number one wide receiver in the NFL. The issue is he plays for the fucking Titans. like Guinness said, they do not have a quarterback, and he is the only person that they're going to be able to throw the football to. So it could be it's a risk versus a reward thing. Like, he is the only guy, but they don't have a quarterback. And people are like, well, what about Justin Jefferson? He's been the only guy he has, but they also have Kirk Cousins. He can throw the football.
And they also throw it he also throws it 40, 50 times a game too.
Exactly. And with Ryan Tannehill is not a big drop back in the pocket and throw the football down the field type guy. And
that bitch
minicamp, and minicamp and OTAs are saying Will Levis is having accuracy issues. Now we're kind of seeing why nobody wanted to take him, why he was dropping down people's draft boards. So it sucks that Traylon Burks is on this list, but he is on this list, and it has nothing to do with his play or his talent. It has everything to do with his quarterback and the team that he is on. So, I would love to see him literally anywhere else, because he could be a top 5, top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. But unfortunately, he was dealt a shitty hand and going to Tennessee. So that's that. But I personally like him. I think he's an absolute stud. He can be a top 10 wide receiver. It just sucks that he's at Tennessee.
Well, he's got the size for it. And and like you were saying, with all the bad news coming out with Will Levis and accuracy issues, which doesn't surprise me because he had it in Kentucky. So, which is why we think he dropped so far back in the draft. But dude, Traylon Burks, they're talking about, he had the asthma and the breathing issues and conditioning problems. Like, did he even work out over the offseason coming out of college into the NFL? He had all those people, all those haters. And it showed. I mean, he just wasn't productive last year, but I think that also had a lot to do with the game script and Henry running the ball, 30 times a game. But Traylon Burks, they've been talking about how big he looks, how strong he looks, how much faster he is, and conditioning. Like, Traylon Burks is like, dude, I feel great. I'm not the same guy I was last year. So Traylon Burks, I think everything coming out of minicamp and OTAs and training camp, it's all sounding great, but it's the supporting cast around him, I think, is what hurts him. So I agree with both of you guys. I think that this has to not do so much with Traylon Burks, is why we have him as a dishonorable mention, but so much to do with what's around him. I think if he was just on a better team, this dude would be a much different player. So this is not anything about Traylon Burks, but it's just where he's at and his, what's going on. So moving on, for my dishonorable mention, I have Mike Evans. So guys, I know y'all
pack your shit, get the fuck out of town.
So guys, I know y'all don't agree with me with this one. So this is why he is on my dishonorable mention. So I know you guys have him much higher. The dude is a fantasy stud, and he has been for the last 9 seasons. All 9 seasons he's been in the league, he has posted 1,000-yard seasons, and he's done it, with quarterbacks like Tom Brady, and he's done it with subpar quarterbacks as well. So, but coming into a season where he's now turning 30 years old, and we're now seeing, what happens when receivers and older, players in the NFL turn 30 and they hit that milestone. This isn't so much a fact that, I have these stats, I have this, I have that. This is, to me, a matter of mere just feeling. I think that if you have Mike Evans, for me, I would suggest that you start looking while you can to trade him before he starts to fall, that stock. Now, if you're in a redraft, I would take him this year. But if you're in like a dynasty league or anything like that, or a keepers league, I would be looking to move on from him. I just think that with Baker Mayfield coming in and having Kyle Trask behind him, I just think that Baker Mayfield has shown to be an underachieving quarterback. I think that he's shown to be productive and a good game manager, but I just don't think that Mike Evans is going to reach that ceiling he has done in the past. Could he have 1,000-yard ceiling? Absolutely. But I'm just not going to take that risk. I'm not feeling too confident about him unless he's traded. I think he could do great somewhere else with a better quarterback play. But, no knock at Baker Mayfield. I think he's still a great quarterback, but I just don't think Mike Evans being at 30 years old too, on top of that, I'm just not feeling great about it. So that's why I have him at a bust. Didn't have him as a top 5 bust for me, but I'm not feeling good about it. So that's why I have him there.
Yeah, no, Mike Evans is that dude. Baker Mayfield is about to get that chemistry going. He's going to go off for another 1,000 yards, I believe. I think with a team actually starting to get that trust and belief into Baker Mayfield, I think that's going to be a good team, and that's going to be a dark horse this year that I don't see a lot of people see coming. So, I believe that offense will kind of get things rolling towards middle to the end of the year, and I think they'll take the NFC. What is it? NFC South.
Yeah, NFC South.
I think they'll end up taking the NFC South this year.
Right. So, and a thing too, I think that gets me is, they could roll. They could find chemistry. I don't think they have that chemistry yet because they've never really played. They haven't played together. But, another thing that gets me is this is a rebuilding Bucs team. I think that they are definitely in the rebuild mode. And I just don't think that, being in rebuild, I don't know if they can be a highly efficient offense. That's going to come down to not only is he going to get receptions, but the Bucs have to stay on the field too. So I that's why I'm kind of skeptical there too, but we'll see. So
I usually agree with our booms and our busts. I will not agree with Dalton on this. I think Mike Evans.
I told you guys, y'all probably wouldn't.
Dalton said that Mike Evans is a respectable fantasy football player. Mike Evans is a respectable fantasy football player. Mike Evans is a Hall of Famer.
For sure.
Mike Evans is a first ballot Hall of Famer. In my eyes. This man, 1,000 yards for 9 years in a row. 2 of them came with Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it 3? Was Brady there for 3? No, 2. 2 years.
Yeah, give or take.
3.
2 years.
3.
Was it 3?
Yeah, because he had 1 Super Bowl and then the 2 years where they didn't make the championship run.
Oh, yeah, maybe 3. But he did all the other ones with Jameis Winston.
Well, Jameis Winston, he was known for throwing the rock like 60 times a game. Like that dude, all he does is throw.
Yeah, but
forget about Fitzmagic now.
Fitzmagic's the same way. He throws it like 60 times a game too. Him and Jameis Winston. So that's helped. But yeah, your point.
For the first time in Baker Mayfield's career, he has a solid wide receiver room. And what separates Mike Evans from all the other people who have turned 30 is that when you look at Julio Jones and you look at guys like that and like people who are like Jason Witten, who are big targets and great targets for teams, injuries. Mike Evans, yeah, he's gotten hurt here or there, but he hasn't had a massive injury like some of those other guys. And he has produced year in and year out, and I do not see it changing. And Bruce Arians said that Baker Mayfield is a better option than any other quarterback coming out of the draft this year. And who can change Baker Mayfield's confidence and get him ready to play again in the NFL? Probably be Bruce Arians. So I just don't see Mike Evans being a bust. I like Mike Evans. He's been the most consistent fantasy football wide receiver, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer in my book. I like him.
Look, yeah, and like I said, for fantasy purposes, like I think he's very capable of throwing up another 1,000 yards. But from a future thinking perspective, like I said, for redraft, I would take him. But from like a dynasty perspective, I would be looking to trade him to get maximum value for him before there's that drop off. And I think that drop off could happen within a year or two, because being 30 years old, I don't know. Cause like Julio Jones, he's a prime example, alpha receiver, and then all of a sudden just drop off. So I think that's something.
Backup. Julio
right.
Tore his back up.
Yeah, well, that's getting up in age. So, Mike Evans is getting up there. So that's what I'm saying. It's just trade him before you can. But in redraft, why not? He is very capable of being your wide receiver 1. But you never know when he falls from wide receiver 1 to wide receiver 3. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, you guys make very good, valid points. So fair enough. So
yeah, well, moving on. The last and final bust that we have here, or dishonorable mention, I should say. My fault. Sterling Shepard. He had so much hype coming out of Oklahoma, and he is not productive at all. He hasn't been what people thought he was going to be coming out of Oklahoma. He was supposed to take that step and be that guy there in New York, and he's just not it. He's just not it. Never has been, probably never will be. There is no ceiling. He's what you've seen the past couple of years since he's been in the league is all you're going to see out of him. So don't expect him to get any better. It's not even worth drafting him. So he's just too much hype around him, and he just has never produced.
No, I was just saying, I mean, I agree with you, Nathan. The wide receiving crew is kind of disappointing to me with the Giants. I think, having the up-and-comer Isaiah Hodgins, I think he played great over the stretch of the year last year. I think he could be their number one receiver next year, this upcoming year. They also got Jalen Hyatt. I don't know how I feel about him. I thought he was pretty productive there at Tennessee.
And Darren Waller.
But that's where I was going to get to. But with the wide receiving crew, it's just not – I feel like it's up for grabs. But with Sterling Shepard, I agree. I still think that Isaiah Hodgins, Darius Slayton, Paris Campbell, I think those guys will still be up over Sterling Shepard. And then with the addition of Darren Waller. So I think for fantasy purposes, I just think that I would stay away from this. I think that Danny Dimes is becoming, a very talented quarterback later in his career. So I think he's just getting better. But I think that once they find that alpha guy, I think that Sterling Shepard will be mostly just an afterthought, because right now I think he's likely their wide receiver 4 at this point. So with the emergence of Isaiah Hodgins, so
I got to kind of disagree there. He's also been injured the last 2 years, and I know this because I've had him on my fantasy team. But being on the field before the pre-injuries, and he's been a decent target. I mean, he's been a good flex role. But like I said, up to that point, once he gets injured, I mean, his season's done. Whether he comes back, he's not doing anything after he gets injured.
Yeah. So fair enough. So guys, we have now made it, and we have discussed and given our expert analysis for our booms and busts for wide receivers, our honorable mentions and our dishonorable mentions. So if you follow along with us and have listened to us before, we have now made it to the part in the podcast where we are now going to get into bench banter.
Let's go.
So guys, if you're just now tuning in, you're a first-time viewer, bench banter is where me and Kenneth are going to team together, and we are going to, Nathan, the dealer, is going to ask us questions, and we are going to do our best to work together to answer these questions. So he's going to ask a total of 3 questions. And so the first one, so if me and Kenneth do not get this question right, Nathan gets a point. If one of us get it right, we get a point. And the first one to get 2 out of the 3 questions wins. So Nathan, let's go.
All right. Y'all ready?
We're ready.
Question number 1. Who was the first team to win a Super Bowl as a wild card team?
The New York Giants.
All right, hold on. That sounded pretty freaking confident by Kenneth.
That was super confident.
So, Kenneth, why do you think that? Because we're working together. That was confident as hell.
I know they did it in 2011. That's why. When they went and beat Tom Brady. Pretty sure they did it both times they beat Tom Brady. But I don't know. I don't know if there's one prior to them.
But Nathan, your question was the first team to do it, right? So are they the first team to do it? They've done it, but were they the first? You could probably still stick with them. But Nathan, give me a hint. Give us a hint. We get one hint.
It is an AFC team.
All right.
So, Kenneth,
that's not it.
Fuck your confidence.
Dang, I was like all about it. Oh, the first. So it's the first team. We only get only one per question, so that was our hint. So it's an AFC team.
AFC.
So first wild card. I'm trying to think of teams that have won it, because the Jaguars have never won a Super Bowl.
Were the Broncos a wild card team in the 90s?
I'll make it a little easier for y'all. They were in the AFC North.
AFC North.
And you can't Google if you don't know exact teams in the AFC North. You cannot Google them, and I cannot tell them to you.
Dude, I'm feeling like it's either going to be the Ravens or the Steelers, dude. Because the Browns have never won a Super Bowl.
Browns have never won. I'm taking the Steelers.
I'm going to go Ravens.
I'll go Steelers.
Are y'all locking it in?
Locking it in.
Oh.
The correct answer is the Ravens. The hint was too fucking easy.
It was. But because that was with Joe Flacco, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2009.
Yeah. I was going to say, because I remember watching that game. I was actually in a hotel room with my parents. We were watching that game. I think I was at the Great Wolf Lodge when we were watching that.
Bro, the Giants were not a wild card team, Kenneth.
Maybe that was only 2011. Either way,
Yeah.
or when the last time they beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl.
All right, Nathan did give us a pretty good hint on that one.
Yeah,
so I will give
that was a pretty solid hint that y'all got there.
So we will take that. So Nathan,
Question.
hopefully
you're
just as generous. So
you're not getting a hint on this one. How many officials are there in an NFL football game?
oh my god.
Got the
Dude.
line judge, back judge.
How many judges are refs? So you've got
Line judge, back judge.
you've got to have 2 line judges. Or do you I wonder if you have some in the end zone. One in each end zone.
I'm going to take a wild guess and say 7.
I was going to say 6. Nathan, what you don't have any hints? Is it
You're not getting the hint on this.
okay, give us is it over under 10?
Under.
7. I'm staying at 7.
Hold on. I'm going to go, okay. We've done this before where I don't stick with my gut, and I'm usually always right if I change it, and I just said 6. So I'm going to stick with 6.
The correct answer is fuck you, Kenneth. It is 7.
Boom!
Okay.
What's up?
So, Kenneth, by default, we have won this episode.
I told you we
default.
would.
All right, Nathan, but go ahead, give us that number 3. See if we can get a perfect score.
This wedding's bullshit.
You did give us a pretty easy guess on that last one. Okay, Nathan,
Yeah,
this one will be no hints, even though we've already won. We'll see if we can get with no hints.
No hint. Who was the first quarterback to throw for a 5,000 yards in a season?
Okay, give us a hint.
Peyton
No,
Manning.
I'm just kidding. It's Peyton
about
Manning.
to say.
I'm going Peyton Manning. That's what I was going to say.
Both of y'all are going to pick the same answer. You get 2
No,
guesses.
but that's what I was going to say, but I'll change it. Another 5,000 yards in a single season. I was going to say Peyton Manning, but I'll go with.
I know there's not a lot of quarterbacks that have done it. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes ain't going to be it, though. Peyton Manning did.
He was the first person to do it.
I'm thinking Peyton Manning.
I'm trying to literally think because it couldn't be a quarterback way back when because I feel like it was more of a running type style league. I feel like it had to be more modern day quarterbacks, airing it out type. So, if you're gonna go Peyton Manning, I'm having a gut feeling with like either like a Drew Brees or a Phillip Rivers. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Drew Brees.
You're locking in Drew Brees and Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
The correct answer is Dan Marino.
Dang. Fuck. Damn, Marino. We almost. We
didn't give him the goose egg.
Yep. We almost had it. Dang, man. I wish we would have had that. Like, and then get DJ back next week and just tell him dude, we.
Damn, I'm undefeated.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah,
anyways.
Asshole.
Anyways, guys, Thank you guys for the listen. You can find all of our content on our website at boysonthebench.com. From there, you can get access to all of our content such as TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You can also take a listen to all of our episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, which are posted weekly. But again, thank you guys so much for the support as we continue to grow our channel. But in the meantime, I'll see you guys next episode. We appreciate you, Kenneth. Thank you for coming in and sitting on the bench with us.
Oh,
Yes.
Of course, anytime.
Yes, it was a pleasure riding the pine with you, Kenneth, and looking forward to do it again anytime soon.
All right. Deuces.